Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BengalVerse. Today, we explore a timeless romantic tale adapted from the works of Rabindranath Tagore. Our story follows a young man named Anupam as he journeys through love and self-realization, discovering the depths of his own heart. Now, we present to you, The Unknown, by BengalVerse.
At 27 years old, my life may not be long in duration or extraordinary in quality, yet it holds a unique value. It is akin to a flower upon which a hornet once alighted, leaving a trace of its presence that has become the fruit of that bloom. The history of my life is brief, so I will keep it concise. Only those who understand that brevity does not mean insignificance will grasp the essence of what I am about to share. I passed all my college exams as required. In my childhood, my masters often mocked me for my beautiful face, comparing me to a Bombax Khyber flower and a gold brick. I used to feel extremely shy then, but now, at this age, I think that if reincarnation exists, I would like to experience the same beauty and the mockery of my masters again. My father was poor at one time. He earned a lot of money as a lawyer but never had the chance to enjoy it. His first real break came at his death, when he could finally exhale and rest. I was very young then and raised by my mother, who came from a poor background. She never forgot that we were now wealthy, nor did she let me forget. I was pampered from childhood, which might be why I never fully grew up. Even now, anyone who sees me would think I'm like the younger brother of Gajanan, cradled in the lap of Annapurna. My real guardian is my maternal uncle, who is only 6 years older than me. Yet, he has enveloped our entire family like quicksand, making it impossible to gain anything without going through him. Because of this, I don't have to worry about anything. Any father of a daughter would agree that I am a suitable match for marriage. I do not smoke and am a genuinely good person. I am adept at following my mother's instructions. In fact, I cannot help but follow them. I am prepared to live under the rules of a household, so any girl seeking a husband should take note of this quality. I received many proposals from wealthy families, but my uncle, who is the main architect of my destiny, believes that marrying into a rich background is not suitable. He insists that the girl who joins our family must be humble. Despite this, he is deeply driven by greed for money. He desires a father who not only lacks funds but also spends freely. Despite any difficulties we might pose, he will not complain even when he comes to our home and we serve him a hubble bubble instead of a hookah. My friend Harish works in Kanpur. He came to Kolkata in vacation and made my heart restless. He said, "Hey, I have a great match for you." A few days ago, I passed my MA exams. Now, wherever I look, all I see is leisure. No exams, no responsibilities, no job, no need to even consider my own possessions, no further studies, and no ambitions either. The only constants in my life are my mother at home and my maternal uncle in the outside world. During this vacation period, my heart was filled with illusions of women everywhere. I saw her image in the sky, felt her breath in the wind, and heard her whispers in the rustling of leaves. During this time, my friend Harish came up with that proposal. My heart and body began to feel fluctuations like those of a new leaf swaying in the spring breeze of a flower garden. Harish was a humorous person, skilled in describing things with wit, and my heart was yearning for that. So, without hesitation, I told him, "Talk to Uncle immediately." Harish had a knack for creating lively gatherings, where everyone warmly welcomed him. Even my uncle appreciated him. The proposal was brought to him, and he was more concerned about the father's news than the girl herself. The father's circumstances matched what he desired. Once wealthy, now only a fraction of their fortune remains, with the rest lost. Unable to maintain his reputation in our region, he moved west and now lives modestly. However, for his only daughter, he is willing to spend whatever remains of his wealth without hesitation. Everything seemed fine until the age of the girl was revealed to be 15, which displeased my uncle. "Is there any issue with her lineage?" he asked. "None at all," Harish replied. The father couldn't find a suitable match for his daughter anywhere. On one hand, finding a groom was challenging, and on the other, the dowry was substantial. The father remained patient, but the daughter's age was a pressing concern. However, Harish, with his talent for wit, managed to convince my uncle. The initial hurdle of the marriage proposal was thus resolved without further issue. To my uncle, the area outside Kolkata was always akin to the Andaman Islands. He had only ventured as far as Konagar once in his life for some business. If he were the author of the Constitution, he might have included a provision forbidding crossing the Hooghly River in it. In my heart, I desired to go and see the girl myself, but I lacked the courage to express it. To see the girl, my paternal cousin Binu Dada was sent. I trust his judgment and abilities completely. Upon his return, he remarked, "Not bad at all. She's pure gold." Binu Dada's language was always very concise. Where others might say, "Marvelous," he simply said, "Okay." I understood from his response that the marriage would indeed take place. Needless to say, the girl's side had to come to Kolkata for the marriage. The trust that Shambhunath Babu, the girl's father, had in Harish was evident as he saw me for the first time only 3 days before the wedding. Shambhunath Babu, around 40 years old, had black hair with a moustache beginning to grey. He was indeed a handsome man, with a face that would stand out in any gathering. I hoped he was happy to see me, but it was hard to tell, as he was very quiet by nature. The few words he spoke lacked emphasis. My uncle, on the other hand, talked non-stop, boasting about our family's wealth and reputation with every sentence. Shambhunath Babu did not participate in the conversation at all. His input was completely absent. If I were in his place, I might have stopped, but for my uncle that would have been a difficult task. Seeing Shambhunath Babu's quiet demeanor, my uncle assumed he was a lifeless person, devoid of any spark. This made my uncle quite pleased, as he believed that a girl's father should not have too much spirit. When it was time for Shambhunath Babu to leave, my uncle stood up to bid him farewell but did not accompany him to his car. Both sides finalized the dowry arrangements. My uncle, who prides himself on being incomparably cunning, left no room for negotiation. The amount of money was fixed, along with the quantity of jewelry and even the price of gold. I was not present for this discussion and had no idea what had been agreed upon. However, I knew that this was a crucial part of the marriage negotiations and that the person handling it would ensure we were not shortchanged. Indeed, my uncle was the pride of our family for his shrewdness. Wherever we had any dealings, he would undoubtedly win any battle of wits. This was well known to us, and it was our family's boast that, despite any difficulties faced by the other side, we would ultimately prevail. This was the stubbornness of our family, regardless of the consequences. The turmeric ceremony was completed with grand arrangements. There were so many attendees that we needed an accountant to keep track of them. The thought of Shambhunath Babu struggling to host such a large gathering made my mother and uncle burst into laughter. With all the bands, flutes, orchestras, and other loud instruments creating a chaotic scene like a drunk elephant trampling a lotus garden while singing, we finally arrived at the marriage venue. I felt as if my body was on display for auction, adorned with rings, decorations, and jewelry to showcase the value of their future son-in-law. However, my uncle was not pleased with the arrangements. The space allocated for the groom's side in the lawn was insufficient, and the overall setup was very average. Shambhanath Babu's demeanor was cold and unwelcoming. He barely spoke, wore a simple sheet around his waist, had a broken voice, and displayed baldness on his head. Fortunately, his lawyer friend, a large man with a dark complexion, managed the situation by graciously hosting the guests, offering praises, and keeping his hands together in a gesture of welcome. This helped salvage the event at the beginning. After I sat on the stage, my uncle took Shambhanath Babu into a nearby room. I don't know what they discussed, but after a while, Shambhanath Babu returned and said to me, "Dear, you need to come here for a while." My uncle's singular motive in life was to avoid being cheated by anyone. His greatest fear was that Shambhanath Babu might deceive him regarding the dowry, and once the marriage ceremony was conducted, he would be powerless to act. The arrangements he had witnessed for the wedding convinced my uncle that Shambhanath Babu's verbal promises could not be trusted. Thus, he brought along our own goldsmith. When I entered the nearby room, I saw my uncle seated on a couch, while the goldsmith, with his scale and touchstone, was sitting on the floor. Shambhanath Babu turned to me and said, "Your uncle insists on examining each piece of the bride's gold before the marriage. What do you say to that?" I remained silent, my head bowed. My uncle interjected, "What does he have to say in this matter?" "He will do as I instruct." Shambhanath Babu, looking directly at me, asked, "Is it true? Will you do whatever he says? Do you have no say in this?" I shrugged slightly, indicating that I had no authority in the matter. "Very well," Shambhanath Babu said, standing up. "I will bring out all the jewelry of the bride." Uncle said, "What will Anupam do here? Let him return to the stage." Shambhanath Babu insisted, "No, he must remain here." After a while, Shambhanath Babu returned with the jewelry wrapped in a towel and placed it on the mat. Every piece was an heirloom, not the intricate designs of the modern age, but thick and heavy. The goldsmith picked up the jewelry and said, "What is there to examine?" "This is pure gold. Such pure gold is not used in recent times." He pressed lightly on a bangle with a Capricorn design, and it twisted easily. My uncle immediately took stock of the jewelry to ensure nothing was missing. Upon calculating, he realized that the quantity and value of the jewelry were much greater than what had been promised. Among the items was a pair of earrings. Shambhanath handed them to the goldsmith for examination. The goldsmith remarked, "This is foreign jewelry. It contains barely any gold." Shambhanath took the earrings back and handed them to my uncle, saying, "You may keep these yourselves." My uncle examined the earrings and recognized them as the ones we had given the bride as a gift. His face turned red with anger. He had expected to outsmart a poor man trying to deceive him, but instead found himself outmaneuvered. Frustrated and embarrassed, he said, "Anupam, go back and sit on the stage." Shambhanath replied, "No, he doesn't need to sit on the stage. Come, let's feed you guys first." Uncle was taken aback. "But, the wedding." Shambhanath reassured him, "You don't need to worry about that now. Please, get up." Though a gentle man, Shambhanath had a commanding presence, and my uncle reluctantly stood up. The entire groom's party was also served a meal. The arrangements were modest, but everything was clean and orderly, leaving everyone satisfied. After everyone had finished eating, Shambhanath turned to me and gestured for me to eat. Uncle interjected, "What's this? How can he eat before the wedding?" Ignoring my uncle's comment, Shambhanath asked me directly, "What do you say? Is there anything wrong with eating now?" My uncle stood there as a staunch follower of my mother's commands, so I couldn't defy him or partake in the meal. Shambhanath, feeling remorseful, said, "We've caused you much trouble. We're not wealthy and couldn't arrange as fittingly as you deserve. Please forgive us. It's late now, and I don't want to prolong your discomfort. So now." Uncle interjected, "Yes, let's proceed to the stage. We're ready." Shambhanath inquired, "Should I call a car for you?" Uncle, bewildered, asked, "Are you joking?" Shambhanath responded firmly, "You've been joking yourselves. I'm no longer interested in continuing this farce." My uncle was utterly stunned. Shambhanath continued, "I won't give my daughter to people who suspect I'd steal her jewelry." He didn't find it necessary to say anything more to me because it was clear I was nobody. I won't recount what happened next. The decorations were dismantled, everything thrown into disarray, and the groom's party left. As we departed, no wedding songs or instruments played. There was no light to dispel the night's darkness as we returned home.